There comes a moment in every relationship where the air feels heavy, where silence stretches longer than usual, and where you start questioning if the person you love is pulling away from you or quietly reaching out in their own unique way. And when that person has an avoidant attachment style, the signals they send are not the ones you've been taught to look for. In fact, they often look like the opposite of love. They step back when you step closer. They turn quiet when emotions get intense. They create distance, not because they don't feel, but because they feel too much. And here's the truth: if you walk away too quickly, if you mistake their silence for rejection, you may abandon them right at the very moment they're learning how to lean in, how to shift, how to love you in their own imperfect but deeply human way. You see, avoidants are not cold. They are not incapable of love. They are simply wired with a fear of losing themselves in closeness, fear of being engulfed, fear of being vulnerable in a world that once taught them that vulnerability equals pain. But here's the hidden reality: when you see a shift in an avoidant, when you notice that subtle change in how they look at you, how they linger a little longer, how they start to show small cracks in their walls, that's not them running, that's them risking. That's not them retreating, that's them revealing. And in those fragile moments, the easy choice is to assume they don't care, to turn away, to protect yourself. But the powerful choice, the life-changing choice, is to stay, to recognize the shift for what it is: love trying to break through fear. Most people will never get to see this transformation. Most people give up on the avoidant before they ever reach that turning point. But if you do see it, if you have the privilege of being present when their armor starts to fall, you are standing in front of something sacred. And I'm here to tell you, don't walk away, because that shift, though small, though subtle, might be the beginning of a love more loyal, more resilient, more real than you have ever known. It's not easy. It's not smooth, but it is honest. And when someone who has spent a lifetime protecting their heart decides to hand you the key, even if their hand shakes while they do it, that is the purest form of trust. So today we're going to dive deep into this journey. I'm going to give you 8 powerful signs, 8 shifts that signal that an avoidant is not running from you anymore, but leaning toward you, sometimes in the only way they know how. And I promise you, if you see these signs and you don't walk away, if you lean in instead of pulling back, you will unlock a level of connection that transforms not only your relationship, but also your understanding of love itself. This is not about chasing. This is not about fixing. This is about seeing through the fear into the love that's been hiding beneath it all along. Let's get into the 8 shifts, and by the time we're done, you'll know exactly why the moment you see them is the moment you hold on, not let go. When you love someone with an avoidant attachment style, conflict often feels like walking into a storm. The moment emotions rise, they retreat physically, emotionally, or both. They shut down, withdraw, or change the subject. Why? Because conflict for them is not just about the present disagreement. It feels like a threat to their very survival. They associate closeness with danger, and when tension builds, their nervous system screams at them to escape. That's why many avoidants walk out, turn cold, or refuse to engage. But here's the shift: when you notice your avoidant partner doesn't leave the room, doesn't hang up, doesn't withdraw completely. That's massive. When they stay seated even though their body wants to run, when they listen even though their mind is screaming to shut down, they are telling you without words, you matter more than my fear. This doesn't always look like dramatic engagement. They may not jump in with solutions or articulate their feelings perfectly. Sometimes it's just silence. Sometimes it's them holding your gaze instead of looking away. Sometimes it's a deep sigh instead of walking out. And if you're not paying attention, you might miss it. You might think they're still avoiding, but that small act of presence is monumental. It means they're overriding their old programming. It means they are choosing connection over self-protection, even when every fiber of their being is wired to do the opposite. This is courage in action. This is vulnerability in disguise. If you see this shift, don't minimize it. Don't dismiss it as not enough. Recognize the weight of what's happening. Encourage it not by demanding more, but by appreciating what is. A simple "thank you for staying and listening" tells them that their effort is noticed. When an avoidant feels safe enough to remain present during conflict, you are witnessing the very walls that once protected them begin to soften. And behind those walls is love. So if you see them stay, don't walk away. That's not distance. That's progress. That's not coldness. That's commitment. For someone with an avoidant attachment style, vulnerability feels like standing on the edge of a cliff with no safety net. They've been trained through childhood experiences or painful past relationships that revealing their inner world comes with the risk of rejection, abandonment, or humiliation. So they build fortresses. They learn to keep their emotions locked away. They convince themselves that silence is safer than honesty and independence is safer than intimacy. But here's what most people miss when an avoidant starts dropping small pieces of vulnerability. It's not random. It's deliberate. It's their version of testing the waters of saying, "Can I trust you with this piece of me?" It may come out casually, a story about a childhood moment they've never shared before, a subtle admission of insecurity, or a quiet confession about their fears. It may sound small, but to them, it's everything. This is the shift. The moment they choose to hand you a fragment of their truth, they are risking rejection to gain closeness. And what you do with that moment matters. If you dismiss it, rush past it, or criticize it, the walls come right back up. But if you hold it gently, if you listen without judgment, if you respond with empathy, you are teaching them that vulnerability doesn't equal danger. It equals connection. Think about it. An avoidant sharing even the simplest vulnerability, "I had a rough day and I don't know how to talk about it," is as significant as someone else writing a love letter. It's not about the size of the revelation. It's about the courage it takes to reveal anything at all. If you see this shift, don't walk away. Don't mistake their softening for weakness. That is the strongest thing they can do. That is love in motion. Avoidants thrive on independence. Their default mode is to keep space, to protect their solitude, to avoid being trapped in constant communication. So, if you've ever felt like you're the one always reaching out, always initiating, always holding the line of connection, you're not imagining it. That's often how it is with them. But one day, something changes. You see their name pop up on your phone first. You hear them ask, "How was your day?" Before you ask them, you notice they initiate a hug, a touch, or a conversation. Not because they had to, but because they wanted to. That's the shift. It may seem ordinary to anyone else, but for an avoidant, initiating is huge. It means they are not only thinking of you when you're gone, but they're willing to risk the very thing they fear most, closeness, on their own terms. It means you're no longer just someone in their life, you're becoming part of their emotional home. And here's the key, don't overanalyze it. Don't push for more. Don't guilt them into consistency. Celebrate the gesture as it comes. Smile when they reach out. Show appreciation when they make the effort. Because for them, reaching out isn't casual, it's intentional. When you see this shift, know this, the avoidant is not running anymore. They're reaching. And if you hold steady, that reach will grow. Don't walk away when they finally start to walk toward you. For the avoidant, personal space is sacred. Their home, their routines, their inner world. These are strongholds where they feel safe from intrusion. Letting someone into that space feels like exposure, like losing control. That's why many avoidants resist sleepovers, hesitate to merge lives, or keep their environment carefully guarded. But when the shift happens, you'll notice small changes. Suddenly, they invite you over without hesitation. They show you their messy side, the parts they usually hide. They let you into their world not because they have to, but because they want to share it with you. This isn't about convenience, it's about trust. An avoidant doesn't casually merge their world with someone else's. So if they hand you a key, if they ask you to stay the night, if they introduce you to their personal spaces, understand that you are being allowed into their heart through their environment. It's not the act of opening a door that matters. It's what the door represents, access to their guarded self. And once you're inside, your response is critical. Respect their space, show gratitude. Don't criticize the way they live because their invitation wasn't about impressing you. It was about trusting you. If you see this shift, don't mistake it for something small. That's love taking physical form. That's a fortress becoming a home. Don't walk away. Walk in with care. One of the most challenging things about loving an avoidant is the inconsistency. Hot one moment, cold the next. present and affectionate than distant and unreachable. It's a push-pull dynamic that can leave you doubting yourself, doubting them, doubting the relationship. But consistency, when it arrives, is one of the clearest signs of a shift. Suddenly, they're not disappearing for days. They're not yo-yoing between closeness and withdrawal. They start showing up predictably, steadily, in a rhythm that feels safe. This doesn't mean they become overly dependent. It doesn't mean they lose their independence. It means they've found a balance where connection no longer feels like a threat, but like a grounding force. And once they reach this state, the relationship transforms. If you see this shift, don't overlook it. Celebrate the steadiness. Acknowledge the growth. Because what you're witnessing is not just a behavioral change, it's a rewiring of their nervous system, a recalibration of their emotional world. And it's proof that love is stronger than fear. For the avoidant, admitting fault feels dangerous. Apologies require vulnerability, humility, and accountability, 3 things that challenge their instinct for self-protection. Often they'll deflect, minimize, or withdraw instead of saying, "I'm sorry." But when the shift happens, you'll hear those words, and you'll hear them sincerely. Not because they were cornered, not because they were guilted, but because they care about repairing the bond more than defending themselves. This is profound. It means they've crossed a threshold. They've decided that protecting the relationship matters more than protecting their ego. And when an avoidant reaches that point, it's not just about the apology itself, it's about what it represents: love over fear. If you see this shift, receive the apology with grace. Don't gloat, don't rub it in. Acknowledge their courage, because each time they take that step, they're dismantling old walls and building new bridges. Avoidants live in the present, not because they lack vision, but because the future feels risky. Planning together implies permanence, and permanence feels like entrapment. That's why many avoidants shy away from conversations about marriage, moving in, or even long-term vacations. But when the shift happens, you'll notice subtle signs. They start saying, "What?" instead of "me." They ask what your plans are months from now. They talk about shared goals, shared dreams, shared life. This is monumental, because in that moment, they are not only imagining a future, they are placing you in it. They're weaving you into their vision, which means they no longer see you as a temporary chapter. They see you as part of the story. If you see this shift, lean in. Don't pressure, don't demand timelines. Just appreciate the fact that they're allowing you into a part of their mind that was once off limits. That is not distance. That's deepening. That is not avoidance. That's love finding its way forward. Avoidants don't always say, "I love you," in the ways we expect. They may not flood you with words or grand gestures. Instead, they show love through action, through presence, through subtle care. The shift happens when you begin to recognize their unique language of love. Maybe it's them fixing something for you without being asked. Maybe it's them remembering the smallest detail you shared weeks ago. Maybe it's them staying close when you're tired, even if they don't say a word. When avoidants love, it's not always loud, but it is real. And when they begin to express it openly, in their way, it's a sign that the walls are down and the heart is exposed. If you see this shift, don't compare it to others. Don't demand it look like the movies. Recognize the authenticity behind it, because their love, when it finally flows, is steady, deep, and loyal. When you love someone with an avoidant attachment style, patience is not weakness. It is power. Too many people mistake distance for rejection and walk away just when transformation is beginning. But when you learn to see the subtle shifts, the quiet moments where fear starts giving way to trust, you recognize that love is not always loud, not always obvious, but it is there, alive and fighting to surface. The journey is not linear, but every small shift is evidence of courage. The beauty of witnessing an avoidant change is that you are not just watching a partner evolve, you are watching healing in real time. You are seeing someone who once believed love was dangerous begin to believe that love can be safe. That's not just a shift in behavior, that's a shift in identity. And if you're present for it, you are standing on sacred ground. It is the privilege of being chosen, not easily, not casually, but deeply and deliberately. Remember this: consistency, vulnerability, presence, apologies, invitations into their world. These are not random acts. They are deliberate risks. They are your avoidant partner, choosing closeness over comfort, love over fear, connection over protection. And when you understand the magnitude of that choice, you no longer see it as not enough. You see it as everything. It takes strength to stay. It takes discernment to recognize when someone is truly shifting and not just stringing you along. But when the signs are there, when you see those walls coming down brick by brick, the choice to hold steady is the choice that changes everything. It is the decision not to abandon someone at the very moment they are learning not to abandon themselves. Love is not about perfection. Love is about growth and avoidance. When they grow, love with a loyalty that is unshakable. Because they didn't arrive at love easily, they fought through fear, rewired old beliefs, and risked vulnerability to stand beside you. That kind of love doesn't fade, it anchors, it roots, it endures. So if you see the shift, don't walk away. Lean in, hold steady. Recognize that you are witnessing not just a relationship forming, but a transformation unfolding. And when you do, you don't just change your relationship, you change both of your lives. Because love, real love, is not about escaping fear, it's about choosing courage. And that's exactly what the avoidant is doing when they shift toward you. Thank you for staying with me through this powerful message. If this touched your heart, if it gave you clarity, or if it reminded you of the strength of patience and compassion, then I know this message was meant for you. Remember, avoidants are not unloving, they are simply learning to love differently. And when you see those shifts, you are witnessing the most beautiful act of courage. So keep your heart open, stay present, and never underestimate the power of holding steady when love is trying to break through fear. Thank you for watching, thank you for growing, and thank you for being part of this journey with me. Until next time, stay strong, stay compassionate, and never walk away when love is asking you to stay. Goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video.